Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last and final session of our CFAC committee process. As we near the finish line, we also know we're nearing the starting line. So as we bring this process to a close, we have a lot to think about, and the board has a lot of considerations. As you're thinking about tonight what to expect, I don't think we're going to be here till 7:30. We have taken the summary of the feedback from the 8 different groups. The architect team has kind of synthesized that to see where the mode is and where we have the most amount of consensus. And so they're going to share some slides with you tonight about what that looks like and ask for a final round of feedback. And one of the pieces of information the board is very interested in is, in light of your learning over the last 7 meetings, what are your bigger pieces of justifications for why this, why now? And so they're going to capture your feedback in a way that they can synthesize that in their final report. They want to make sure they're representing this process very well in its authenticity, as well as to help to lean into the conversation with our community. Whatever we do, we know the community will be very much involved, and your voice and your input of what you've seen, what you heard, what resonates, will be a jumpstart to whatever that process looks like. With regard to where do we go from here, on the 10th of November, the regular board meeting, the architect team will share a high-level overview publicly of the CFAC process. We'll share a few slides of each of our meetings and share what we've learned, what we've discussed, and provide that for our public at large. And then on December 4th at a board workshop, they will present their final report. And that will take all of the feedback, all the considerations, all the slides, and that will be shared with the board at that public meeting at the workshop. And then the board will have to think about where do we go from here and provide some directive to the district. One of the pieces that I can tell you is that much of what we've talked about in this process will continue. We will continue the conversation around acquisition of land. We will continue the conversations of land negotiations in our developments in the surrounding area. To be able to be bond ready, I would say, if the board decides, for instance, November 2022, February 2023, we know the growth is coming in fast, so we're going to have to be what we would call is bid ready. So if the bond were to pass, we want to have a project approved, permit in hand, ready to build, because that speeds up the process by a full calendar year, which we know we're going to need to do. So your feedback, your insights, your wisdom will definitely drive our work moving forward and help us to decide where do we go from here. So I want to hand the mic over to the architects, but again, thank you for your time away from your families, work, loved ones. You're setting the foundation for where this district is going to go for the next 10 to 12 years and beyond. So very much appreciated. Mr. Ben.
All right, thank you, Ed, and thank you all for being here tonight. We're just going to go over a couple of the things that we did at our last meeting. We get to talk about the game that we all played together, putting together the priorities and trying to figure out this puzzle of how much money do we have and how many students do we have coming in and what does that look like in real life. So we just kind of remembering that we all went through, we created I think 7 boards, and we took a little bit of time between each team and we presented those back out. We're not going to go through exactly what each one said, but Michael is going to share a conglomeration kind of all the boards. So we're just going to kind of skip through these pretty quickly. We kind of remember how they went, how they looked. We have the dream team here that decided not to use the budgetary numbers. And all of this we took back to our office and we started to look at it and what it meant. And Michael took the time to kind of look at that in a framework.
Thanks, Ben. So we were really, really impressed with the thoughtfulness that, well, let's say most of the tables put into it, but I'm kidding. No, it was really, it's a hard problem to solve, right? And we've been trying to get closer and closer to understanding what all the parameters are. And you guys really took this game to heart. And so what we wanted to find out, though, was there some common messages in all the solutions, right? Is there any one of these components that really stood out as like everybody's, yeah, let's do that, right? And let's see how much variation there is on some of the other pieces. And so hopefully you can see what we did here is that there are 7 different lines, and then there's that first package we talked about, there's the second package we talked about, and there's the third package. And we just, like Ed was saying, maybe it's going to be 22 or February 2023, that range for phase 1. And there's going to be phase 2 and a phase 3. And we've got to figure out the timing of those as we refine this. But just for starters, we have these 3 packages, right? And we were tracking enrollment growth down here. And in terms of the high school, there's a lot of people that thought, demoing the wrestling, the old gym, build a new gym and some CTE and add 300 student capacity right away. There's a lot of people who put that piece on the board. This is better than me. They put that on the board in the first one. And then you can see expanding permanent capacity in some way in the second one. That had a lot of votes. And then expanding again, another 600 in the third phase. That's how the high school could be. And it seemed when people were talking about replacing the school on the current campus, rather than doing all this growth somewhere else. We'll talk about that a little more in the next one. So Orting Middle School, I think people were seeing in this one that, yeah, there's not a lot of growth, there's not a lot of portables out there right now. The other schools are the ones that have all the portables. And so there wasn't a sense of immediacy about building a middle school or even renovating and expanding an existing Orting Middle School. So that's where that landed. All the people's middle school pieces were on the far end out there. Then putting together both of the elementary school and the existing elementary schools on top. And then when do we build new for those homes that are coming into the community? And I think everybody sees it on the horizon. I have the sense that people got the feel that it's going to take 4 to 5 years before we really got a lot of new capacity online. So let's get on with it. It was what some tables were saying, right? So we bolded replace Orting Primary because a lot of people said that. And get some new capacity at Farmington Ridge was phase 1, phase 2. You can sort of see that from squint. And then in phase 2 and phase 3 is when people were seeing getting the new elementary schools on. So this is an amazing amount of consensus, I think, for a problem this difficult. It's really cool what you all came up with, looking at the same parameters to have this kind of sense about what's important. If I was a board member, I would really appreciate this, what you're doing to them. So in terms of, let's say, all the other parts and pieces that would entice the community to support things, fill out the rest of the whole experience of what schools are in the community, we need to get some property to get Orting Primary off this campus. People saw that. And then turf, transportation, fields, courts, we heard soccer, tennis courts, softball, and then demoing OPS. That would just sort of be in conjunction with logistically getting that done. And so we put that piece there as a recognition of the cost. I think logistical things like that we can work out as we refine this with the board. But get the property out there up front and get those things for the community. I think we heard that from a lot of people, that they're not very expensive to do, to have something visible for people to see in that first phase was really important. And I think the logistical aspects of phasing this site and helping transportation and maintenance and to a degree administration scale with the student population is something that we could study in further detail, but people didn't let that linger. And so it's not, there's very few people said, let's put it in the third phase. Let's at least get it in the second. So that's something, and one group had it first, in the first phase. So that's something we're going to be mindful with the board as we go forward so the plan is feasible. Right? You can see the big parts and pieces, but we want to make the whole operation for the district feasible. So it's a great experience for the families and your students. So if you were to build a scenario based around those things that there was a lot of unanimity around, it could look like this. You remember we had a target of 100 million, and we said, we'll give you 20%. You could build a scenario that's 128, right? And then we were shooting for around, was it 200 in the second one, Ben? 180, okay. Well, give yourself an extra 20%, you're in the 200 range, okay? So we're not far off there, you know, and then, gosh, the other one's 10 years out, or 8 years out, right? And who knows what's gonna happen 8 years from now. But you've given the board your impressions of what a master plan for the community could be. This is really powerful stuff. So this is a great framework to take forward with the board. So Ben put this all together in the same graphic format that you're used to. We have copies for you to see. This is your product. This is what you did. And this is what we get to celebrate tonight. What we want to learn from you now is, are we playing back? Does this look like what you said? Is what we want to figure out tonight. And then for the board and for future promotion and informational campaigns, how do we tell the story of what you've learned in this process? You know, how can we explain what's important? I hope you learned a lot, or maybe this affirms things you've known. So on the boards around the edge of the room here, each board has two zones, let's call it, right? On this one, we got the gym and CTE at the high school. And over here, we have reasons to expand at Orting High School. So it's got the logo right up here in the corner. Then over here, we got the two elementary schools, Orting Primary and PPR. And then the new elementary schools. So this is sort of our elementary board. Why would we do something with elementary schools? You know, we've had these findings in our process. Sum it up here. So on the tables, there are sticky notes and pens, so you can write your thoughts. We got the middle school over there, and then we got fields, transportation, and maintenance. And so it's your last chance to give some feedback, right? And it's going to go into the report that Ed talked about that we want to deliver to the school board. And at the same time, are there things we missed? Are there questions that we should answer that we haven't answered yet? And we didn't review the questions you brought forward in this process, and we looked through them all, and it's like, yeah, I think we answered those. But if you're not seeing it, please put it out there. Yeah, where do we want those? Maybe we could have some feedback right now. Are there some impressions from people? Like, this doesn't make sense to me, or I still have a question, this wasn't clear to me, or I don't agree that we said that. We're open to all of that. So let's say that in the top bar, above the lines there, just put those kinds of questions stuck on the edge of the board and outside the field, then we'll know it's something we need to address specially. Everything else I think we want to collect. That makes sense? Is that clear to people then? If you got a question or a concern, let's just stick them all on the top. And then all the other feedback, let's get it below. Are there questions now before we move into the next step? We're just wanting to get you up and get around here.
We didn't have enough sticky notes, so if you don't have sticky notes at your table, ask somebody to break one in half who does have sticky notes, and we'll just split them up like a legend and we're on our way.
Okay, is it clear to everyone? Let's regroup in, like, say, 20 minutes.
Do you have any pens?
Oh, pens. We got pens. Pens are coming around. We got boxes of pens. We'll just walk them around the room. Aaron, maybe you can help out too. Aaron Winston's with us tonight, too. He's an architect from Orting. He can help. That's just true. It wasn't one. What's he got? Okay, once you got your pen and your sticky notes, just start to put things down.
I'm okay, thank you.
You don't need the fancy stuff.
These are, it's lavish average.
Which is got an exponential or
got way too much money. Well, my son's ready for either, so he's not gonna get anything So it broke it just a little bit. So we just hopped around. We kept going to practice on the track. And I thought we went the last week of September just out this week. I didn't feel better, right? Just doing turtles, like all that. So we have him sit out. We go to Vegas. And the first night we were in Vegas, it didn't got over anything. It's just a hairline fracture straight through. It's all lined up and everything. So he's going to fall that cast right now. Because the body is
I saw an email claiming student person who makes
Monday.
11-1, they'll be all hopped up on Halloween candies.
Yeah.
No press. Staff rates is
I got like no sleep last night.
I don't really, it's not my thing. You got people be running, you know. But I say something. I mean, like last weekend, and, you know, Colin, really but he went golfing. So, like, choose one. I'm like, guys, I can't wait. I don't know. You know. So I don't know. I don't know. You know, and that's all.
Every year. That's marine science. Certificate you need to go reading. Decompress the every year.
Has everybody had their chance to get their sticky notes up on their priorities? I'll give you another maybe 2 or 3 minutes in case you want to put any notes up, and then we'll move on. all so much for your time with the sticky notes. We've got your questions and concerns that we're going to address. We've got your comments that we're going to collect and register. And we're going to give that to the board over the next couple months. And I'm going to give this over to Ed.
Awesome, everybody. I'd like to invite Director Kinsler, Director Madigan to join me up here as we say a few final thoughts. Director Thibodeau? I think that's all that we have. So we're going to give them some mic time. They love to talk publicly. If you didn't know that, they've just been looking forward to this the whole meeting since June. They've been excited. I just want to start by saying thank you, everybody, for helping us to shape the future. Again, this isn't the finish line. This is the starting line. We know we have a lot of work to do, and we'll be pursuing that acquisition of land. We'll be pursuing the selection of the team that will help to do the design phase and getting community involvement. And so whatever we do, just know that there's going to be more opportunities for your involvement as we help to champion the cause, get the message out, and decide where and how we chart the future for Orting schools. Would you like to say any final thoughts?
Just a heartfelt thanks. You have all dedicated quite a bit of time with your kids and your families and just your personal lives to be here repeatedly as we digested some pretty heavy information. There's a lot of data that we reviewed, maps, we walked a lot, and I just really appreciate the fact that you're all still here, familiar faces from meeting one, and here we are again. And I would just hope that your interest and curiosity about this process continues, and that you talk throughout the community and with the families that you're connected with and seek out their input, because we're going to need more ideas and thoughts and participation as this process continues. So thank you very much for being here.
I will just echo what Carrie just said, and as I've sat in on these meetings, I've always sat towards the front because I'm blind in the back and can't see anything, and as I look out here and see all of you, I'm overwhelmed with the gratitude, again, that you took your time to come and really participate in this, and how important it is for us as a board to listen to what our community wants, what's important to the community, what you think is important to your friends and your family who aren't here, and that we want to make decisions based on that information that you gave us. And so, again, thank you for your participation, for being here, for carving time out away from your families and dinner times and TV time and all that relaxation to come here and kind of do some kind of hard work, but it's very exciting. I'm really happy to be where I am right now and watch and see what Orting School District is going to do.
Well, I was talking to a friend about how this committee has felt so different than the other long-term planning committees we've been on over the many years here. I see several other people who have been on them nodding their heads. And it's because of all of you committing your time and your interest and your care and giving us your feedback and telling us what we need to know about the community and the kids and the needs. And you guys are our best advocates for the future. So I'm glad that you stuck with us. And really, we have learned a lot. And I also want to really thank our extra people that have been guiding us through this, because it has made a big difference having some people who know about this process involved from the beginning, helping to guide us along and helping us to look for what we need to look for, because I'm not really very experienced with that. So this has been a great process, and thank you. Thank you so much for sticking with us all these months. Thank you.
As a small token of appreciation, the board has prepared certificates of appreciation for each of you. We'll be passing those out, and although it's not enough to build a school, we have about $30 million of $100,000 bars, and we're going to pass those out as well. Small down payment on a future school. So thank you again, and we'll be bringing some certificates around. Again, we're here for any questions or any sidebar information, any critical things you want us to know. But again, thank you for a wonderful several months. We appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to see what we do as a result. It's going to be awesome.